Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff. My name is Jason and it's time for the June roundup. So welcome to the June roundup. And if you're one of my 200 or so new subscribers this month, a very big and special thank you to you. What we do in the roundup is we just touch on what we did in the month before, and then we talk about what's coming in the months ahead. So right now I am really busy. Yesterday it was my youngest daughter's 10th birthday. It's the school holidays here in the UK. And I'm busy doing things with the kids. So I've actually recorded this a little bit sooner than I ordinarily would. So some of the videos that we're going to talk about, actually, you've not seen at the time that I'm recording this. So I don't know how some of them have gone down. However, I do know exactly what's coming and when, so it's all good. So let's start with the kickoff of May. And we started with the first impressions video of that Polish 7TP tankette. Now this is a model that I've bought for a specific reason, which is a diorama that I've been planning for a couple of years now, if I'm honest. I recently got the base for it, and the base is actually going to be one of these shelves. So we'll build it straight on the shelf and then the shelf can attach to the wall. That's the idea. And basically the diorama idea is we're going to have a street or a combination of streets in early war Germany, sort of September 39 Germany, with a FAMO tank transporter, and the 7TP is going to be sat on top. So that's why we've got that. It's going to be a captured Polish tank that's being transported back to Germany for the Germans to have a look at. I've got lots of kits involved in that diorama. I've got lots of mini art buildings. I've got street sections. This here is planned to be on the diorama. A number of vehicles, a lot of figures, civilian and military. So it's just going to be a depiction of a typical German street early in the war. I've been doing an awful lot of research, and the whole idea of the diorama was inspired by a photograph I saw of a FAMO tank transporter parked in a French street somewhere in Normandy after the fall of France. So it just really appealed to me because it's not the sort of setting you usually find a FAMO in. They're usually in the field somewhere. So I thought it'd be a little bit unusual. It's a nice opportunity to do something civilian, which I don't do very often. So I'm currently in the final stages of planning that. I think I've got everything pretty much that I need for that. So it's going to be a case of bringing that together. And the next problem is, where am I going to slot that in? So I'm thinking that might be something that we start talking about a little bit more seriously towards the back end of the year. So if you like your dioramas, 1/35 scale, then definitely worth watching out for that one. The model itself, the Mirage model, it doesn't blow your socks off, but it's a perfectly adequate model for something that I'm going to have on a transporter. Might have some battle damage on, might be part covered by a tarpaulin. I don't know yet. The possibilities are endless, but it does what I need to do, which is have a little captured Polish tank on that transporter. So sticking with the first impressions, next along was the new Tool Airfix Tempest in 1/72 scale. And I did ask the question during that video, why do we have clear drop tanks? And one of the viewers very kindly informed me that the mounts for the drop tanks were clear. So I was hoping the drop tanks would be clear, but apparently they weren't. It would have been nice to have put some fuel in and have it sloshing around, but hey, there you go. I might do it anyway, just for artistic license. who knows? But yeah, a nice little kit. If you like your gentleman's scale 172 aircraft, that's a very nice little kit, nice little weekend project. It's nice to have lots of little kits in your stash so that if you need a break from bigger projects, you can just do something and cleanse your mind. What some people call a palate cleanser, but definitely worth having one or two smaller kits in your stash, in my opinion. And we'll perhaps talk a little bit more about in-between builds later on. Then on Wooden Wednesday, we had that Amati Chinese pirate junk ship kit. And a couple of people made the comment that it was, it seemed like a nice starter kit. And I have to agree, in terms of the construction, it's quite simple. Your hull strips are fairly straight, just need a slight bend, and a lot of them would just curve naturally and hold their place with a bit of glue without having to steam them or soak them or anything like that. And most of the rest of it is cut to length. You've got no rat lines, so the rigging is really basic, and a decent sized kit at a reasonable price. So yeah, it probably is a good entry level kit. You know, it's not for everyone being a Chinese junk. A lot of people like their sort of Napoleon period ships, but hey, I think that's a perfectly nice kit and quality material, so it should go together really, really well. I personally wouldn't recommend it as a first time wooden ship build, just because you need to understand some of the things that aren't said in instructions. But if you're in the market for a building a wooden ship for the first time, I would have a look at something like Artesina Latina. They're not very accurate ships historically, but the instructions are really good and clear and done in a sort of a photograph way with a bit of written instruction. It's why the part work companies use them a lot. If you look at Model Space, an awful lot of their kits are Artesina Latina kits that they then dumb down and up the price on. Then came along HMS Dreadnought in her 1918 arrangement. Actually a cracking little kit from Trumpeter, and so much so that if you've not built a model ship before and you quite fancy your hand at a 1/350 scale kit, other than a little bit of railing that's needed and is easy to get hold of, you've got everything there in the box, and it looked like it goes together really well. There's lots of detail, some pretty nifty slide moulding of the main superstructure. I think it'll build up really nice, not too challenging, but has lots and lots of detail and complexity to the finished look of it. So actually quite a nice little kit of historically quite an important ship. I guess most people would want to build her as launched, you know, in 1906, and fundamentally the kit will be the same with just one or two little tweaks. So whichever period, they have 3 kits out for the Dreadnought, whichever period you choose, it shouldn't be a problem. What I would say is the photo etch for the 1915 version of the kit is still available from Edward, and that's a nice easy way into that ship. If you want to do the photo etch as well, it's all there for you. And then our last first impressions of the month was the Miniart 135 scale BR1 with mine rolling set. That's as always with Miniart, a stunning kit, but a really, really interesting subject. There was some nice options there, UN markings. You don't often get that on model kit, so it's nice to see a UN option, and obviously all in Ukrainian service. So right now, if you're in the mind to build something in Ukrainian service, that would fit the bill quite well. And we had that, even though they're tank crew, they will suit that model. We won't need the shells and cases, but we'll just keep that for something else at another time. So although there's no interior to the kit, there's plenty to do with the mine roller. I think it'll look really special, and then we cover it with those figures at rest, and it should be a lot of fun when finished. Right, let's briefly talk about our builds. And the first build in May, and May seems to have been a very long month for some reason, but our first build in May was that stunning mini art tractor. I have to say, I've always liked mini art kits, but I've tended to buy them not really as main kits, but as additional kits for a diorama or something like that. So vehicles and figures and buildings, and I hadn't bought a lot of their stuff because they do a lot of Russian, fairly modern Russian stuff, which doesn't really capture my imagination. But there are, when you get stuck into a mini art kit, it is really, really a fun experience, and that tractor was typical of that. Now, when I opened it, I thought it was probably a weekend build. It ended up being 2 and a bit weekends, almost a solid week. It didn't need much in the way of clean up, and it went together really well, but as you've seen in those videos, it did need a little bit of replacement parts and a little bit of scratch building in my view, but otherwise went together beautifully. And we actually finished the month with the tractor as well, with the third video where we painted it all up, and we got it to where I wanted it. So that is now in my display case finished, and as I've done it, I've painted it and given it a light weathering to make it look used, but I purposely didn't put mud and dust and that sort of stuff on, because that has the potential to appear again in a diorama at a future point. Because it's a 1938 model, there's no reason why I can't have some German sightseers in a staff car parked with a tractor in a field next to it, something like that. So there's a possibility that that might appear again at some point in the future in a diorama, because it would lend itself really nice to some country scenes. So with that in mind, I haven't weathered it, which leaves me some options in the future. So what we did was just get the tractor to a position where it looks like a used everyday tractor. So the Tiger, we had 2 Tiger videos, a full one with a full Saturday premiere with live chat and the works, and then a little separate one which just focused on those figures and the diorama plan. So let's deal with that first. The figures, Gavin, you're a star, they're absolutely stunning. My job now is to get the rest of the diorama to the level of those figures. No mean feat whatsoever. So the thing that Gavin is worried about is whether the figures are all going to line up. I did send him a little bit of plastic rod which came with the kit, a sort of a gun tube barrel cleaning rod, but actually in the Ryfield expansion kit, the upgrade set, they put in a length of brass that tube that you have to cut to length to put on the Tiger. So guess what, I don't need to do that. So hopefully I can run that rod through and they can stand naturally. Now, as I showed it in that diorama, it's not quite right. I showed the 3 figures in a row, and actually the first 2 stand facing each other with their arms interlocked. Not 100% sure that I'm going to do that, but we can move those figures around a little bit if that helps with holding the pole. But if not, one of them might be stood on a pile of bricks or a box, or we might even cut it into sections and they're holding sections and passing them down or something like that. I've got options, so Gavin, you can stop your sleepless nights now. But you get an idea of what we're now trying to achieve with that diorama. When I laid it out like that, I was really pleased. It was doing what I wanted to do visually. It flowed and worked okay. So as I'd sort of originally planned it, it seems to be doing what I want. So I'm happy with that. In the full build, we saw more of the tank coming together and a bit more of the diorama coming together. those mini craft buildings go together really quite well. And for those people that aren't watching the Tiger build because it's not of interest, I do have a standalone video, quick tips how to put together one of those buildings, so you'll be seeing that at some point. Now, if you've been watching me pull together that diorama, you know that it's not been trouble free. And when I look at the Ryfield Tiger tank, the level of detail is really, really nice. The main issue with it is the actual base of it, the bathtub base mould, which is all distorted, and that's pulling everything else out of shape and making things not fit as they should. So we've had to shim things and all sorts of bits and pieces. And of course, some of the track rods wouldn't fit in because they'd moulded them upside down and stuff. So that one piece is really, really bad, and that's caused lots of other issues. So that's been the main problem. I've had a couple of parts missing, which is disappointing, but in terms of the actual mould, that's been the main problem. Everything else has fitted together really quite well. Some of the photo etch, the way they've gone about it, doesn't work so well. Having a little tab slot together system only works if you've built your etch with precision, and they hadn't quite. So actually taking the little tabs off made it easier to put together. But putting all that aside, it's actually a nice kit. I wouldn't want to put people off buying one, although personally I'm probably not going to buy a Ryfield's kit again, and I'm going to tell you why. There are some companies, and by no means is this limited to just China, but there are some model manufacturing companies out there who appear to be producing kits in volume just to make money. Now, I accept that making models is a business, but there is a level of expectation from the customer. And here's my expectation. 1, I have instructions that are understandable. 2, I have a kit that basically fits together, even if it needs a little bit of sanding and a little bit of coaxing, that basically most of the kit will fit together as planned. And thirdly, that it's packaged in a way that when it comes to me, I've got all the parts and all the parts aren't damaged. That at a base level is what all of us as modelers is asking for. Level of accuracy is something we'd like to have, but we can all scratch build and make alterations and that sort of stuff. You know, there's lots of nice to haves in there, but fundamentally clear instructions, parts that fit together and packaged with all the parts together. But I've had a number of kits now where from different manufacturers where things don't fit together. The instructions are not clear and parts are missing or broken. And the way that I get that manufacturer to up its game is to stop buying their kits. Because if I keep buying their kits, they'll keep churning out the same standard. So they need to improve the standard. And Ryfield models, there is no way they test built that kit, because when you come to test build it, you realise that there's bits that don't fit together, that the photo etch doesn't work, that you can't put the suspension arms in because you've moulded the holes upside down. So they've not test built it because they're not bothered, they just want to get it out the door. Well, if you're not bothered about me, I'm not bothered about you, I'll buy someone else's kit. So this will be the last time you see a Ryfield Models kit on my channel, I'm afraid, because I'm not enjoying building it. Having said that, the detail of the kit is nice. The subject is unusual, being a very initial with the side bins. So I'm not saying it can't be built, and I'm not saying you can't do a good job of it. And the issues with it are minor. They just shouldn't be there. And then, of course, the stunning Queen Mary 2. We had a build video of that, and what we've seen is we're getting to a point where we can almost get the top deck on. That's not glued down at the moment, but almost. At every step there is a lot more to do than the kit would have you do, and this has been a really slow build, but I knew it would be. The intention has always been from the kickoff of this to absolutely hammer it with as much detail as we can do, and that inevitably means an awful lot of scratch building. So we've added things that much bigger scale models of the ship don't have, the terrace bar with all its little seats and stuff, and there's lots of little deck lights and bits and pieces that we will do at some point, so there's loads and loads to go. But let's talk about what the plan is, because we've not talked Queen Mary 2 in depth for a little while. So the Queen Mary 2 videos at this moment in time are running every third week, and that gives me time to put enough material together. It gives Stephen time to put some material together as well, and then between us we can put that video together where we look at the build and we try and talk about something that is related. It's not always possible, and in some instances, like all these balcony rooms here, I'm spending a lot of time on that, that you're not going to see much of that in the video, because once you've got an understanding, you've got an understanding, and there's only so much that Stephen can say about the balcony rooms. So that we get to a point where the time on the model is a lot greater than the content we can provide around it. So that's why we do it every 3 weeks currently. And that seems to be working okay. So as you can see, the front end is nearly there, but you take this for example, this little part here, which is the bridge. We've got to populate the inside of it. We've got to put the bulkheads at the back of it correctly, because they're not done correctly on the kit. And in fact, there's a big hole in the floor that needs filling, so you can do that. Then on the outside, there's walkways to go on, which we're scratch building from photo etch. So I've got all that to do. So there is maybe a week's worth of work just on doing the bridge. A lot of it which you'll only see if you really peer through the windows. So as much as I'm trying to make it as accurate as possible, there is a downside, and that is how much content I can put together for the Queen Mary 2. So this is the plan. The plan is we are going to continue building at a pace up to the top level and the funnel. And when I say at a pace, I mean not putting the detail in, just building the basic structures. So just doing what I have to do to be able to get to a point where all the main stuff is built. And there is times when in that journey I have to stop and I have to detail, because I've got no other option, because it's going to get closed up and then we're going to move on. The bridge being a case in point. Once we've got the funnel on, we will then super detail the funnel with any scratch building and any photo etch and stuff that we've got, and then we will move forward and finish the front end of the deck, and then go down, put all the railings on and so on and so forth, the rigging and bits and pieces. Then we'll come back to this half and go backwards and finish by going down the decks. And there's a huge amount of detail on the decks. Deck chairs, railings, people, seagulls. No, I'm joking about the seagulls. But my thinking is, if we do that, we are dealing with everything once rather than dealing with everything twice. So there is a plan. I have got a structure in my mind about how we're building this together, and that means that the sides of the ship will get done as we move along as well. So you won't see the lifeboats going on until we start moving down the ship, if that makes sense. So there is still tons and tons of this to do. Once we get the top deck on and we get the wood deck on that, it's gonna look like we're starting to get there, and that'll be inspiring us to move on. We've still got some huge swathes of monotonous stuff to do, like all the glass balconies, which we've got to dip to make them look even more like glass. We've got to shade them, and we've got to paint them 2 colours, and then we've got to put them in all of it. It's a huge job, which is probably 10 or 15 minutes worth of video. So that is still the principal build. It remains the principal build till it's done, and then when it's done, we will do another big ship. And I've got a whole queue of ships there waiting to be built. Some small ones from a Japanese destroyer that we're going to do a major weathering project on, to 1-200 HMS Hood with Pontos, and 1-200 Bismarck Ultimate build with every photo etch set available for it and every piece of resin available for it, and we're just going to do a mega build of that at some point, but we need to get that out of the way first, and who knows what will be next, though I suspect we'll be finishing the 1-200 Arizona off. And of course, the other build that we have ongoing is our wooden ship HMS Fly. Fly progressed quite nicely, but we're now back in a slow bit where I'm doing lots of hull planking, or at least should be, but that's going to take some time to get through. So we might not have a Fly video next month. I'm not sure yet. So in terms of tools and quick tips, we'll stick with Wooden Wednesday because we started there with the Amati nail pusher. It's a really nice tool, and the more I've used it, the more I've enjoyed using it. You can go at it with real precision. So yeah, that's a nice little tool, and if you're in the market for a nail pusher, I'd certainly consider that. Obviously, you don't have to use a nail pusher. You can use a little hammer, but you need to hold the pin. And don't do that with your fingers. So you need something like one of these, which is a needle holder, self-locking. And if you want to know more about that, there is a Focus on Tools video in there. If you go to the main page and find the Focus on Tools playlist, it'll be in there somewhere. We also looked at the new Humbrol stipple brushes. Someone commented that the bristles were a bit long for stippling. I absolutely agree. There's nothing stopping you cutting them short. It's not something I've done, but you could do. I often modify brushes for particular needs and try and keep brushes that I use for weathering, decaling and that sort of stuff away from my everyday paint brushes. But yeah, I continue to enjoy using the new stippling brushes. They've got lots of uses, and those thicker bristles are really handy, particularly for dry brushing. They're very good for doing some light chipping in a dry brushing way. So yeah, I expect to see more of those in my videos. We then also looked at the Infini sanding sticks. They're okay. They're really handy because of their size, but there is a couple of them that I don't use so much, and I still prefer the Humbrol ones in terms of firmness. Just need a bigger range of the Humbrol ones, really. Then we ended the month on weathering powders, which is something I'd been asked about a couple of times, and we're starting now to have a look at some products which I'd kept away from a while. There's such a huge array of products out there, and I guess it's like tools. If you're new to the hobby or you're returning to the hobby, it's a whole new world, and it can be a bit of a minefield. You know, there's products out there, and different manufacturers call it different things: weathering powders, pigments, and if you don't know, you just don't know, and it takes you a while to work through things and decide what you want to do. And like I said in that video, I've used pastel chalks for many years, and so I was a bit resistant of going to weathering powders, but now I have those Humbrol ones. I'm actually really quite enjoying using them. So yeah, I thought an interesting video. I hoped that some people would find the little tip of using decal fix instead of varnish for your weathering powders a good tip. One of the things that had been said to me was I can't get my weathering to look right with weathering powders, and the problem is if you're using varnish, which so many people recommend, once it's on, it's on. And you're stuffed, and you could ruin your model, or in your mind go, it's not how I wanted it to be. So using decal fix, it's like using thinners for cleaning up enamel washes. You can just take it all away if you really want. So the only other thing that we've not mentioned that happened in May was a Gotha trailer. So we did a little tease in April. We've done a trailer in May, and that really reflects my excitement that this Gotha is coming. In a way, if I wasn't on the channel, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, that Ryefield tank would be back in its box in a dark corner, and we'd be going with the Gotha. Really we would, because I got that annoyed with the kit. However, when you've got a channel, it doesn't quite work that way. I feel obliged to finish it, and that's a good thing for me, because I've got so many Shelf Queens you wouldn't believe it. And since I started the channel, I haven't started a model and not finished it. So you guys are like therapy for me when it comes to my model building, and that's all good. But I can't wait to get the tank done and the diorama done so we can get stuck into the So I got the last bits for the Gotha build during the month of May, so I am ready to go with my paints and my rigging. Now, just a quick note on the rigging. My intention is to do the rigging traditionally using proper turnbuckles and fishing cable, not EZ line. Now, that's not the way the guys from Wingnut Wings would recommend, and it's not the way that a lot of people do it these days, but you know what, I have never done it, so I want to do it. I've used turnbuckles and fishing line, and I've used turnbuckles and EZ line on model ships 1200 and above, but I've never done it on an aircraft. And as we've got this lovely museum standard kit, I want to get the very best out of it, so we will rig it properly, and if it takes forever, it takes forever, but that's the plan. So it should look really good, so I'm quite excited about it. Unfortunately, I was hoping to go with one paint system for the build, but that's not worked out for various reasons. There is colours that they shout out that I'd caused me to do some complex mixing in if I used all Vallejo, for example. So we're going to have a combination of Tamiya and Vallejo in there. So I will probably be doing another trailer which will explain that a little bit more, and then we'll do a build introduction and we'll go through the plan and the paints and the other materials in addition to the kit that we're using, because we've got wood decals and so on and so forth. And we're also going to be using some oil paint, so the propellers, for example, the way I paint a wooden propeller, I can't do that with acrylics, so we're going to do that with oil paints, and that's a long process. So the build is likely to start with the propellers, I would imagine. Okay, I've been editing this video that you're watching right now, and for some reason I lost sound on the back end of that video, so I'm having to re-record it, which is why you've got a different perspective, and we'll talk about that in a sec. Anyway, so I don't know why, so if anyone can tell me why an iPad suddenly stops using its sound when it's recording, I'd love to know. That's the second time it's happened to me now. Whilst I was using a microphone. I've not got the microphone on now, just to be doubly sure, but we're very lucky because I only had a couple of days left to edit it before I needed to load it up, so we could have run out of time. Okay, so let's talk about the extra thing we're going to see in the month of June, which is this. This is my new model space. and I will be doing a focus on tools-ish type thing video where we'll show you what it is, how it got built, and I'll talk you through a little bit about where we got it from, how much it costs, and what I think about it. So for those of you who perhaps not been following the channel for a while, I work out of my kitchen, and we needed a solution that would give us the kitchen table back, not cause me to have to move everything that I got out from my modelling, take my modelling stuff from 3 different rooms in the house and bring it all together. And this that you can see here is the solution. And you're not seeing all of it. There's an extension table which we've not got up at the moment, and what have you. And yeah, that video will be coming out at some point in June. It's all recorded because it's all done. Just got to edit it and put it together, which I might do in the next week or so, and then get it out at some point. So that'll probably go out on a Friday or something like that as an extra. I tend to put my extras out on a Friday because you've had something Monday, Wednesday, you've got something Saturday, so I tend to use Friday as the filler. Okay, so let's talk about what else we're doing in June, which is everything you can see here. So with the end of the mini art tractor build, we need another in-between build, and a number of people have been asking to see, or insisting indeed to see, a build of the Fairy Rotodyne, the old early 70s Airfix kit. Well, decided that was a good shout to do next. You can see we are in progress with it, and it's a really nice kit. It's going together really well. It has 1 or 2 small issues with it, and I'm not just talking fit issues because of its age, and there's not many of those, to be honest, but there's other issues such as decals aren't quite complete enough, got some missing bits from the decals, and 1 or 2 missing bits from the actual structure of the aircraft, but it's going together really nicely, and I'll give you a sneak peek of the cockpit there. So yeah, so look out for that. That's coming soon, but I've got a build before that that's already done. That's top secret. All I'll say is it's very American. You don't get much more American than this. Okay, as always, each month I record some first impressions videos for release in the future, and I'm usually about 6 weeks ahead, so what I'm recording now will come out in about 6 weeks, 6, 7 and 8 from where we are now, and then we'll have recorded some more. So I'm well ahead with my first impressions videos currently. So these are the 3 that I'll be recording during June. So let's start with the dogfight doubles. Believe it or not, I've never had a dogfight double kit. No, I'll blame my parents for not buying me one for Christmas at some point. But this one, I thought it's quite fitting with the Pearl Harbor anniversary having just come about, and it's got a Zero and a Wildcat. And now I believe, I might be wrong here, but I don't think I am, that this is the new tool Wildcat that is going to be released in as a kit in its own right, but it's come out in the dogfight doubles first. So all new tool. 1 or 2 people have been raving about it, so it'd be interesting to see what that's like. And obviously this is a set that comes with paint and what have you, and we will review the whole thing. It has a display stand, so we'll be filming that. You'll get a look at that. 2 kits in 1 box, what's not to like? Next, we'll be filming, I say next, this isn't necessarily the order that they'll appear in, but we're going to film this. So what we get is that vehicle and these figures. Now originally these were 2 separate ICM kits that they've brought together to release as a nice set. They work well together. Obviously, some lovely artwork there. Being an ICM kit, you know it's going to go together really quite nicely. 135 scale, and as I've said, this is for the Famo diorama ultimately. So I don't know if we have any options with this, but this particular vehicle, the 320 Saloon, was widely used as a staff car for all the armed forces in Germany. So, and then finally we have this. So this is Revell's Level 5 172 scale, large scale Type 7 U-boat. Now this is a re-release. 2019 they re-released this as a platinum edition. It claims to have 832 parts, although I suspect most of those are photo etch parts. I don't think the plastic part count will be too high on this, but as we can see, we're getting photo etch, we're getting turned brass, we're getting some wood decks because it's a Pontos, and it's just under a metre long, so it's a big old kit. I had a quick glance in it when I got it. I've had it since it was released in 2019, so I do need to pay it another visit and get myself really excited about it. So we're going to have a look at this. I think it's originally a 2006 kit, so it's a relatively young kit for a Revell kit at least. So yeah, that should be quite an interesting little kit. When I say little, I mean not little, because it's going to be a fair old size. But yeah, looking forward to having a look in that. Plenty of parts to go at. Should be a fun build. So let's have a look, do a first impressions, get an idea of what's in the box and what else we might need. So a couple of other things that I want to talk about before we wrap up for this month. So first one is subscriber count. So the YouTube subscriber count thing is a little bit odd. It goes up and it goes down, and you can see where you get subscribers from when you look at your analytics and so on and so forth. And actually, I've averaged now for a good number of months around about 200 subscribers a month. And we see little peaks on certain videos. Some of them come from the first impressions. I'm getting quite a few at the moment, actually, from the Wood Wednesday, which is great news because that's something new that we're doing, and we're capturing more wooden modelling information rather than just the build of HMS Fly. So I'm quite pleased about that. So we're getting subscribers being pulled in from all of those areas. So if you're a new subscriber, you might not know this, so it's worth talking to you about it. But on a Saturday, 9 p.m. UK time, London, Greenwich Mean Time, we do our premiere. So the build is released on a Saturday, which is sort of the main video event of the week. It goes out at 9 p.m. on a Saturday, and it has live chat because it's a premiere. So that means that you can watch that video and chat to me and other viewers at the same time. I have a little band of merry men that come along and watch every Saturday, and then we have one or two other people that pop in and pop out depending on the subject matter. So it's a little bit of fun. Quite often we're not talking about what's being built, but people do ask questions and make points and make suggestions and all of that sort of stuff. So it's a little bit of fun. It's a nice way to pass an hour on a Saturday. Typically my videos are around about an hour on a Saturday. So if you're not sure how that works, let me explain it to you, because I think one or two people have been confused about what happens when they click on the video. So when you, if you're a subscriber and you've hit the bell, you'll get a notification when I load the video up. When that happens, what you need to do is go onto the video and click reminder. So it should come up on your screen, and there'll be a rectangular box on the right hand side of your screen,
covering the picture, and it says set reminder. If you do that, what will happen 15 minutes before we go live, you'll get a ping, you'll get a message to say that the premiere is about to start. So you get a 15-minute warning. Now, when you go into that video for the first time, it will run some adverts, and then it will run a trailer for one of my other videos, typically one of the build videos that's coming up, or one of my other builds that is ongoing at the time. So you might get a trailer for Queen Mary, or you might get a trailer for the tractor, or you might get a trailer for the Wingnut Wings Goater. So you'll get a trailer. Don't be confused that that's the video, because it's not. It's just a trailer. When the trailer finishes, on the night of the video, it will then sit there until 2 minutes before the premiere runs, and 2 minutes before the premiere runs, we will start getting the countdown, which feeds you into the launch of the video. So that's basically how it works. Now, once the video is up and running, you can then go into live chat. Now, it depends on how you're viewing the video and what you're viewing it on, where that appears. But typically, it's in the top right-hand corner. So in the column where you've got all the other videos stacked up that will play next, at the top above there, it should say live chat. And if you click on that, that will then open up, and you'll be able to see all the live chat, and you'll be able to make comments and so on and so forth. So that's how that works. Now, if you've missed the premiere, you can still see the live chat. So if you're watching it after the premiere, then you can, exactly as I've just explained, go to live chat, open the live chat, and as the video plays, the live chat will run real time in the side there, and you can see that conversation. So if there's been any particular questions or any particular points made, you can see that. Now, that's really, really important if you watch the Queen Mary 2 videos, because as you watch the Queen Mary 2 videos, Stephen Payne, the designer of the Queen Mary 2, is always on that live chat on a Saturday, and he gives extra information about the ship and various parts of the ship as the video runs. So as we get to something that's of interest, he'll put something in the chat, and people are asking him questions and trying to understand a little bit more about the ship, and that's all preserved in that chat. So you can see that as the video runs. So what I tend to do is that I tend to watch the video and then go back and watch the video again with the live chat when I'm watching somebody else's premiere that I've missed. So whether that be Nigel's Lancaster bomber or somebody else's video, I tend to watch it so I can take it all in, then I watch it again with the live chat so I can read it. That's partly because I'm dyslexic and I can't do two things at once, but it's like reading subtitles. Can't watch a film, I read the subtitles. It's the same sort of thing. So that's how it works. So on a Saturday, you're welcome to join us. I'd love to see you. Come along, say hello, watch the film with us, and have a chat with some of your fellow modelers. And we have a nice little community there. Yeah, you're all welcome on a Saturday at 9 o'clock. Love to see you there. Now, the other thing is the subscriber count, which is, at the time of recording, I'm around about 2,700 subscribers. Now, again, for those of you who may have subscribed in the last few months, every time we hit the 1,000 mark of subscribers, we do a subscriber special. The previous subscriber specials are still in the video stream, so you can go and see what they're all about. But what we basically do is I ask you, the subscriber, what you'd like to see next. Now, I manage that a little bit. I give you a set of half a dozen model kits and say, right, which one do you want? You vote for it in the comments. And previously you voted for the Mogami and voted for the Wingnut Wings Goater, which we're going to be building soon, as soon as the tank's done. What we're going to do next time is exactly the same thing, but it's going to be an in-between kit. So it'll be a smaller kit. I've got loads of them, so I've got a stash of kits there, and I'll let you choose one. So just so you're aware, that's coming up as soon as we hit the 3,000 subscriber mark. We might be, I don't know, 2-3 months away, something like that, possibly, maybe a bit less if we're lucky. That's what will happen. You'll get a chance to view that. So keep your eye out. If you don't want to miss that, if you want to ensure that you get to see what that is and have a say in what is built on the channel, then you need to hit the little bell because you might miss the notification otherwise. So finally, the last thing I want to talk about is going live. But my daughter's just entered the room, so you'll have to wait a minute. Right, last thing I want to talk about is going live. Now, I've been umming and ahhing about going live for a while, and to be honest, I don't think I have enough subscribers to make it worth my time and effort, given everything else I've got to do, family life and so on and so forth. So I don't see the benefit of doing it right now, at least. I think it would be difficult to read the comments and do whatever we're going to do. However, I do have an idea for a live show and doing a bit of a special. So I'm going to put it out there. You tell me what you think. The Airfix 124 scale Spitfire is coming out soon. And my thought originally was to do the first impressions of that as a premiere, so that there was live chat, which would mean I'd pre-record it all and we'd do it as live chat. But I'm now wondering actually if it would be even more fascinating for everybody if we opened the box live and did the first impressions live, so that everyone gets to see what's in the box at the same time as me, and we can go on that journey together. So if you think that that would work and you'd be interested in seeing the 124 scale Spitfire unboxed live, let me know. I have it on pre-order. I put it on pre-order the day it went live on the Airfix website. It's going to come to me direct from Airfix, and I usually get it the same day that it starts to arrive at the shops. What I typically see is that I get it and then you can buy it the day after or a couple of days after in the shops. So I will be one of the first people to get it out onto YouTube. Now, that usually means it's going to arrive midday on a working day, and I'm not going to be able to go live then because I'll be working. But whatever evening that is, once we've got kids to bed and we've done it, we will do a live first impressions. So let me know what you think. Doing it live or doing it as a premiere? Let me know in the comments and I'll take on board what you guys think. But yeah, I think that might be an interesting thing to do. And that means we'll have to do a practice live beforehand, because if we're going to do that, I need to get my head around what we're doing. So we'll have a think about it. Okay, I think that is it for now. I'm going to see you with some first impressions and some builds very soon. Until then, enjoy your modelling, stay safe, and I'll see you very soon.